We've got the JOYO Meteor II on the bench today. This is their take on a modern British high gain amp, and to my ears, it's definitely got an orange flavor going on here. Like the other band amps we have tried, there are two channels with independent volume gain and tone controls. The voicing on the clean channel here definitely sounds a little different to the two other band amps that I've tried so far. The Zombie, which is a lot more of a kind of crystalline clean, and the Jackman, which is more of your low gain Marshall style thing. This has its own voice going on, which we'll hear in a second, and then the gain channel has a range of tones from light crunch through to really thick doomy style distortion on there. Like the other members of the Bantamp series, there is an effects loop, there is Bluetooth on here if you want to run music through it and jam along to it, and the volume controls on here have a couple of distinct sweet spots on there where the amps kind of stop getting louder, but I guess like a real amp would, the tone is going to change. So pay attention, especially on the gain channel where I'm sweeping the volume control from about 11 o'clock to 1 or 2 o'clock. I'm going to normalize all the volumes where there are any big volume differences to avoid the loud is more good thing. This is a PRS CE24 standard. Let's have a listen to the clean channel on here. I've got the gain control up quite a bit because I like the way it sounds with the single coil mode on this guitar. It's guitar into the Bantamp, into my Marshall 4x12 with greenbacks. I've mic'd it up with a single SM57 off axis and added a little bit of reverb in my DAW. This is what it sounds like with both pickups tapped. There's a lovely chime to that, and it feels really bouncy and spanky under the fingers with this guitar. This, with the gain all the way up, takes drive pedals pretty well. I've got a Boss SD1 with the level and drive around noon and the tone at around 11 o'clock. Let's just hear that again with both pickups split. Revisit the SD1 as a boost into the gain channel. So let's go to the gain channel on here. What I find interesting with this, on the Jackman, it basically had one kind of character that gave you more or less gain. On the Zombie, it had an insane amount of gain with the gain control quite low. But on this one, you've got a really nice sweep in there. So again, we'll start with both pickups tapped, and I will switch over to the bridge humbucker halfway through this. Let's just have a listen to the range of the gain control. makes me want to play those sludgy, doomy style riffs on there. And they've done well to capture that sort of classic orange kerrang that they have in there. It's not a Marshall, it's not a Vox, it's not a Fender, it's got its own character going on. Let's stay with those settings, just with the gain a little bit lower on there. You could see the onset from a mild crunch to full-blown saturation was pretty sudden around 10 or 11 o'clock. That's going to vary with the guitar you're using, but let's hear the Les Paul Custom in drop C sharp now. I will boost this halfway through with the SD one and let you know with a little note on there. This is quite a tight, aggressive, and bitey sounding guitar, so it's going to have a different thing going on straight away. 90% of the time I try an amp, I generally prefer the high gain sounds to have some kind of boost pedal in front of them, but I've found my favorite sounds on here are actually with that gain control around 10 or 11 o'clock, right on that threshold when it goes from a light crunch to full saturation without a boost. And I have to applaud JOYO for actually making the internals of each of these different. It would have been very easy for them to just put these out with different badges on the front and some very slight cosmetic or internal tweaks in there. But the clean and the drive channel on here actually sound distinctly different to other band amps that I've tried. Like, it doesn't have that kerrang that the Jackman has that is so typical of a Marshall style amp. It's got a different mid-range voicing. It's thicker and sludgier with gain, and it's got more of a chime with the lower gain tones. And if you've seen my video with the Zombie, you know that that just has an insane amount of gain and low end, which this doesn't really do. So it is worth checking out a couple of these, in my opinion, to find the one that works well for you, or they are priced so aggressively and they're so small that you could combine the two of them or maybe three of them in like a wet, dry, wet setup. Another feature on here worth mentioning as well is if you've got a pedal board that you normally run direct, or you've got a modeler, these have an effects loop return on them. Well, they've got an effects loop, but you can just plug into the effects return and amplify your modeler. So it's worth having it home if you're running it with a small cabinet and you don't want to worry about studio monitors, or you just want to keep it in your car or something like that as a break glass in case of emergency backup, because they are so affordable. The price on these for the sounds that you can get out of them and the fact that it's actually a fully fledged amp, you plug it into a cabinet, you can get some proper volume out of it and have some fun, I think is very much worth investigating. And they're kind of collectible as well, as some of you have mentioned in the comments on my previous videos. This was one that did come up where people were recommending I check out the Meteor. I'm really glad I did. Thank you to JOYO for sending this one out and for sponsoring this video, and to all of you for your continued support on the channel. If you want to support me directly, there's links to my Patreon, the music that I make with my band Ragdoll. You can grab some free stuff like my IRs and also check out my Gumroad store. Until next time, take it easy. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.